Thanks everybody who has attended live today, and anybody who's listening afterwards, thanks for signing up. So today I want to run through cold email marketing, and I've got quite a lot of slides to show you in terms of how to set up the emails correctly and how to write the emails. But I think all of email marketing training will be useless if I don't show you actually how to find people's emails. So I think this is where we should start from. So with all email marketing, the main tools I use are either Snovio or this tool called Apollo. And the difference between the two is Apollo is a database where all of the email addresses are already in, whereas Snovio is a tool where you can scrape email addresses. So this tool, Snovio.io, the way it works is that you create a free account to start with, and then the pricing is based on how much activity you do per month. So I'm usually between these two, between 1,000 to 5,000 emails a month is what I scrape. But it's pretty affordable, and even for $120, 20,000 valid emails would last you a long time. So the pricing of this sort of software is really, really powerful. But to show you what this does, I'll show you from the back end. So when you install Snovio, you can install a Chrome plugin, which looks like this at the top. And what this lets you do is convert people's businesses or LinkedIn profiles or searches on Google to people's email addresses. So for example, once you've installed the plugin, you can go to anybody's website. So for example, this is my website, and you can click on Snovio, and I'll give you a drop down of any business emails I can find for that company. So this is really powerful when you want to run a campaign and just manually scrape information. So if you have a list of websites, you can either do it this way, where you go to the website and you can find the email. Snovio also lets you do it in bulk. So you can do bulk domain search. So for example, you can upload a file, and I think I've got one here. I'll double check if I've still got it. Yeah, there we go. You can upload a file here, and then what you can say is prospects or email only. If you click prospects, it'll find not just the email addresses, but also LinkedIn profiles. And then you can say, do you want one person per domain, 5 people, however much you want, and click start search. And if you do a search like that, it'll give you results. I'll show you just here, a little bit like this on the left. And so 1 second, I'll just load up. Here we go. And so what this will do is it'll give you a list of business emails, and it'll be a mix of emails that are confined, valid emails, not sure, and definitely invalid. So I only usually send to the valid emails. So what happens is all of these 172 will mean that it's high quality campaigns of email data that won't bounce. They're all personalized, and they're all business emails, not personal, and I'll come back to that in the future. So with Snovio, you can upload a list of domains, or you can go from website to website. And what it will do is it will convert all of these into email addresses. So that's step 1. Step 2, what you can also do is, if anybody was on the talk last week, is you can use LinkedIn. And so you can do a LinkedIn search to find your target audience. So say, for example, on LinkedIn, I've done a very quick search of just second degree United Kingdom, that's United States. And again, with this Snovio plugin, if I click this, I can then scrape all of these people from here. And what you can also see is that if they're already on Snovio, then it'll show here on the right. So none of these are on my database. So I can click find emails and save, and add them to the list that I want to add them to. So this is a really great way, if you think about it, that you can find your target audience from websites, but you can also find your target audience from LinkedIn profiles by finding them on LinkedIn, clicking the plugin there, and scraping the emails. When you do scrape the emails, it always goes back to here, and they update in a sort of section here. And then you can just wait until it buffers a little bit, and then you find valid, invalid, that sort of thing. So this is a really quick way of finding email addresses. The third way that you can find them, so if you have websites, you also have LinkedIn. The third one is finding email addresses from Google. And to do this, there's a tool here called Recruiting, recruiting.net. And the way this tool works is that you can do a filter. So I could say United Kingdom, founder or co-founder, or founder, owner, CEO, keywords to exclude, recruitment. Let's just check this. recruitment or consultant or advisor or investor. Keywords include startup or fintech or SaaS, and then find the people on LinkedIn. And what this will do is it will find people's LinkedIn profiles, but instead of on LinkedIn, it's going to find them in Google if I click this. And the reason that this is very powerful is if you think about it on LinkedIn, you're always filtered by your second degree connections or your third degree. So if everybody did the exact same LinkedIn search, we would all get different results. However, if we all did this research, we did get similar results because it's not linked to your relationship with them. It's just linked to the search criteria you find on Google. And likewise, once you find this audience, again, you can click Snovio, and then you can scrape all of these profiles and you can say this one here is already on my list, Pietro, which is this person here. So this is really cool because it means that even if you run out of searches on LinkedIn or you don't have a paid account or you just aren't connected to that many people, and an example for a lot of you might be, you might have a lot of connections within your home country, but if you target Germany, France, England, you might not have many connections. But if you do this search, you can suddenly find lots of relevant people, click Snovio, and then you can find email addresses. So between those tools, which are Snovio here, and the ways you find emails are by a bulk domain search or via LinkedIn or via this tool called recruiting.net, and that will help you find all your search criteria online or on Google. So that's the way I use Snovio to find all the email addresses. And if you know that, it means that you can now find the majority of people's email addresses anytime. A few other things about this. Another tool that I recommend is called Apollo. So Apollo is in replacement to Snovio. And usually I don't recommend these tools because these are built-in email databases, which are very, very expensive. So there's another tool called Cognism, and I think a few other tools that are very, very expensive, as in a couple of $1,000 a month. However, this tool has done a special discount, I think, as part of COVID-19. They've tried to do something cheaper for people who can afford. So for $99 a month, you've got unlimited email data. So if you were to sign up and choose something like Startups London Founders, you would get thousands of results here of already found email addresses, LinkedIn profiles, phone numbers. So just to confirm, this tool doesn't scrape the data. This tool already has the data in it, whereas this tool scrapes the data from searches like LinkedIn or emails or websites or that sort of thing. So I recommend have a look at both of these, Snovio or snov.io or apollo.io. Having a play around with them and thinking what's best for you. There are way more tools than just this. There's tools called Hunter, Phantom Buster, Lusher. There's so many tools out there, but these are my chosen ones that I like based on how much I can rely on them, how well they work, and the results that they can give. The other thing is the support on Snovio is very good. So anybody not sure what to do, you can very quickly click on support, and they have a live chat team that are always available to give advice and to help you out, that sort of thing. So I think step one is, can you find your email addresses? And if you can play around with Snovio or play around with Apollo, you should be able to get people's email addresses. I think the next thing is what you do with it. And this is where I want to share these slides here. So I'll just open this up. Can someone just comment just to let me know and they can still see my screen okay in terms of the slides?
Yes, we can see it.
Good. And can you just let me know, can you still see them now as full screen?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. So I'll share all of these resources with you after the talk as well. But I think email campaigns are a lot different to LinkedIn campaigns because there's so much that can go wrong and so much work that you need to do before they go live to get it right. And a lot of people either don't know about these things or know about them and are just a bit lazy. So a few things to cover. Cold emailing is a one-to-one message targeted at individuals. So this cold email is not mass email, spam campaigns. So instantly, a lot of people say, I don't do email campaigns because it's too spammy. And I think that's just a contradiction. It makes no sense. So email marketing is a one-to-one message to a highly relevant person with a personal name, a personalized subject line, but you do it in bulk, same way you can do LinkedIn in bulk because it's more automated. One thing that's really important is cold emailing are to send to people that have not opted in. So if they've opted in, it's not really called cold emailing, it's a newsletter or onboarding messages or that sort of thing. So cold emailing are people who don't know about you, but you're trying to introduce or sell to them, that sort of thing. The one thing to be aware of is so many people ask me this about, is cold emailing GDPR compliant? And there were a lot of discussions, and when GDPR first came out, I was very worried because as a lead generation agency, my two channels that I focus on are LinkedIn and email marketing. And so one thing I did is a lot of research about GDPR. And in general, GDPR is to stopping huge companies spamming people. So for example, GDPR is to stop Nike emailing you and say, hey, do you want to buy some new trainers? When you haven't subscribed, you're not looking, they're just trying to sell to everybody. That's not compliant. If you do the steps that I'm going to show you, this is compliant. So cold emailing is definitely compliant if it's done in the right way. So one of them is this definition to corporate subscribers if they're relevant to your work. So by corporate, it means business emails. So you can't you can't send to Gmail, Yahoo, AOL, Hotmail, Google Mail, these sorts of things because they're personal email domains. You can't send to any business emails. The other thing is you need to make sure that your prospecting is targeted and appropriate. So using tools like Snowvio or Apollo, you're not just targeting everybody, you're targeting startup founders in London, for example. So something very specific. And you need to be able to show a legitimate interest of why you're sending emails. So the legitimate interest is, am I trying to sell you car insurance where you don't even show any signs that you even have a car? Or am I trying to introduce my services as online lead generation training when you're a startup founder trying to generate more leads or something like that? So you need to be able to prove there's legitimate interest of why your content is relevant to the person you're sending. And this one here, you need to make it so much easier to make it so that people can opt out. So either an option to unsubscribe, or if they reply, you can confirm. So if you look at all of this, GDPR or not, this is just basically common sense. Don't spam people, make it targeted, try and show them some context of why you're messaging them. And if they're not interested, be respectful. So I think that's sort of common sense that you need to set up. And this one, try and cleanse and maintain your database. Now, this is a tricky one because how do you even do that? Basically, what it means is that if somebody says they don't want to be emailed, make sure you can tag them or sign something to say, these will never show up in your campaigns again. That's the main thing you can do. So a few things that you need to do to set up email marketing. And a lot of people just don't do this. So a lot of people will just use their day-to-day email address, create a campaign, start sending it, and then get blacklisted, get spammed, get blocked, and it's a huge problem. So there's a few things. Number one is how healthy is your email account or your domain? As in, are you sending from a healthy domain or is it already blocked? Are you sending to personalized emails or generic? And is a subject line relevant or people not opening? So first thing to do is the healthy email account. So on this, I would say create a new domain to send emails from. So a lot of people say my domain is prospectlabs.co. A lot of people would just set up patrick@prospectlabs.co and start emailing. Instead, try and set up a completely new domain. This is quite helpful just anyway if you own your business and you're trying to grow. So for my domain, prospectlabs.co, it's important I can try and find .com, .io, .org, whatever it is, so that I can buy the domains just to stop my competitors buying them anyway. But it's also helpful to have separate domains so you can send emails from those domains and not affect your normal day-to-day domain. With that domain, you can create a new personalized email. Then you have to set up SPF and DKIM records that I'm going to show you about. And then you need to learn how to warm up the email for 2 weeks. And I think all of these steps have to be done before you go live with the campaign. So the first thing is, why do you need to create a new domain to send emails from? So let's have a think about this. So if you have a new domain and you start completely from fresh, you need to know that you need to let your hosters, so G Suite or whatever it is, know that this is a healthy campaign, it's a healthy email, it's a healthy domain. So normal, my domain is prospectlabs.co. So I'd maybe buy something like prospectlabs.io. This means that if I do email campaigns and get marked as spam, if I get blacklisted, whatever, it's against the .io domain. This means that if I have customers of my prospectlabs.co email, all my transactional emails, all people that are my customers are getting my emails. So you have campaigns set from a different domain so it doesn't damage your day-to-day domain. The other thing is, if you send an email from prospectlabs.io, people don't realize that it's not from .co. They don't pick up on this, and so it's fine. So it means that you can send campaigns, but they still think it's from your day-to-day business. Okay, so I think there'll be a few questions that I can answer at the end, but all of these things are, I'm going to share blogs as well, where it's about reading, looking into it, and setting it up. Even if I do this for new businesses, every single company seems to be different in terms of how to set this up. So it's certainly not a simple thing, but once set up right, you'll see a huge difference in the results you get. Okay, so if you think about personalized emails now, if any of you have been sending campaigns to generic, as in support, sales, help, that sort of thing, it's a huge waste of time. Some people will pick up on it, but in general, the email's not for anybody, so nobody thinks it's to them and nobody makes it feel individual or bespoke. So trying to send from your email address and to business emails is really important. So if you create a new domain, create a new email address and make it a personalized one. So don't create a sales at email and send it from that. Create it from a name so that the person open it feels like it's coming from a real person. If you create a sales at or support at email, it just doesn't quite work. So I always send from things like patrick@prospectlabs.io or patrick@prospectlabs.co, that sort of thing. The other thing is, if you set up a brand new email address, even if you've got a marketing person or lead generation person working for you, they can easily log in and manage that for you, and it's different to your day-to-day email. So trying to create a new domain and then try to create a personalized email address against that domain is the first few steps. Okay, after this, setting up SPF and DKIM records. My advice for this would be read more about this instead of listen to me at the end of a busy day on setting this up. It's incredibly dull, very boring, and not one of this bit you'll think, wow, this is really cool. However, if you do get this right, you'll see more people opening your emails, more people not going to spam, getting more results and getting more business. So it is important. So a few things about this. SPF and DKIM, these are the bits of information that you that sort of let people know who you bought your domain from. And it's an important bit of information that helps the providers of opening your email know who it's sent from and say this is a genuine person. This is not my expertise by any way, but I think if you read that blog that I'm going to share with you, so woodpecker.co/blog/SPF-DKIM, but it's on the guide that I'm going to send to you. This is a really detailed blog about how to set this up step by step. But the most important things are just on your Gmail, you just add a few sort of settings on your DNS settings to update how this works, and you'll see a huge improvement in your emails going to inbox instead of to spam. Okay, the next one here is why warm up the email account. So if you think about, you create a new domain and you create a new email, you can't go live straight away with emailing. The problem with this is that if you do, Gmail will flag this very quickly to say this is a spam account or this is not a real account and it needs to be blocked. So emailing or email warm-up is a process of gradually increasing the sending volume and increasing the number of replies and the number of clicks. And to get a good reputation, the email has to be warmed up. So to read about this, again, I'll share this guide. There's a blog on a tool called Lemlist, which I'm going to show you in more detail. And it's a really detailed guide on how to warm up your email. But you have two options to warm it up. You can either warm it up manually, which is you log into one account, you send an email to yourself from another email, open it, click it, reply back to yourself 20 times a day. Or there's a Lemlist way where it's an automated way of warming it up for you. I'm going to show you how to do that. And these are the two softwares that I recommend to help get your email account ready. So lemlist.com is the tool that is all about warming up your email. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well as sending. There are also some other tools that are quite cool. So Mail Tester for checking URLs, Sender Score, and also CoSchedule Headline Analyzer. So there are a lot of different tools there in terms of how to get your domain ready. But if I quickly share my screen with Lemlist, I'll show you why this tool is really cool. Okay, so I'm going to go back to a few things, but one thing I want to show you is just about the email warming up. So when I used to do this before I used Lemlist, I would always log into an email account, send myself 20 emails back and forward for about 2 weeks, incredibly boring, time consuming, and I really didn't enjoy it. So instead, when I found this, it's a really genius way, and they've got an option called email warm-up. So what email warm-up does is you put in your email account, you switch it on, and you say, after sort of a couple of days, can you start ramping up the number of emails that are sent? And it gradually sends the emails more and more and more until it makes sure that all your emails go into inbox. And the way this works is that Lemlist connects with anybody else that's a Lemlist user and manages your inbox. So basically sends from your inbox to other Lemlist users, then it opens the inbox, replies, and backs to you, and vice versa. So they have access to your inbox. It's nothing bad, but it means it warms up the domain for you. This is the only tool on the market that I know does this. So I've never found anything like this, but this is saved me like maybe 10 to 15 hours of work of getting an email ready by just automating this. And it should be an automated process. There's nothing to think about. It should be automated. So I think this is the tool called Lemlist, and it's called Lemwarm if you want to read about that. But I think going back to here, these are the tools of how to warm up your account. Okay, perfect. So in terms of finding emails, I've just showed you there, but just to recap, tools are Snovio and Apollo. And okay, what to do in terms of the subject line. So what I want to move on here is if you think about, you find some ways to find email addresses, you've created a domain, you've created an email, you've warmed up the email. The next thing is how do you actually write emails? So the first thing is what's going to motivate people to open the email. I use exactly this subject line and it works incredibly well. So subject line, I say first name, as in the first name I'm targeting. Then I always say my name, and I just say introduction and a quick question. Every business that I work with, that's what I do. And the formula for this is first name means the person you're targeting feels like it's bespoke. You're saying your full first name yourself, so you're not hiding anything, it's not spam. And then the line introduction and quick question, so you want to introduce yourself, but you want to ask something. So the reason why this gets a high open rate, and by high, anything from 40 to 60% open rates, is because the person isn't clear if you're buying or selling, if you're inquiring, if you're making an introduction. It's a professional but intriguing subject line that I find gets good results. So my advice would be, if you are going to do cold emailing, start with this sort of subject line, test it out, and then try your other variants on top of that. But this is the one that I use consistently for email campaigns, and it gets really, really good results for me. Okay, then after the subject line, you have the intro. So remember, we want to give some context of legitimate interest or where it's from. So I would say, hi, first name, I hope you're well. My name is Patrick. I'm the founder of Prospect Labs. Recently read about your company on LinkedIn and wanted to get in touch to introduce myself. So on my emails, I always give some context of where I found them and who am I. Because if they open the email, I want them straight away to say, this is relevant to you. I'm honest. This is what I do. This is where I read about you, and then the next things. And then I give them a bit of context. So I'm the founder of Prospect Labs. I read about it on LinkedIn. I want to get in touch. Then very quickly, what is Prospect Labs? So in this context, Prospect Labs is the Baltic's leading growth hacking training company, helping startups to build scalable sales and marketing strategies. So I want to give them in one sort of simple sentence, this is exactly what we do. Because if I'm going to ask them a question, I need them to have context of who am I, what's my agency, so that when I do get in touch with them or when I do ask a question, it's relevant. So they've opened the email, they've got a context of who I am and where I've read about them. They now know the company. And so the next step is the question. Now, this is going to be different for all of you, but the question is that bit of small talk or what opens the conversation. So my question is, I just wanted to ask if you're looking to increase the sales within your company, or if you feel the way you are generating leads could be improved. So the idea behind this is I want to speak to people to say, are you happy with how you're generating leads, or do you think there's more ways? So I don't want to say, sign up, book a demo. I just want to say, do you think there's potential of where I can help? And then I add this, please see a webinar I recently ran on how to generate leads. Here's the link. Would you be available to have a call where we can learn more about each other, or that sort of thing? So in this bottom section, call to action, I want to add value. I want to say, if you're not too sure about me, this is where you can watch a video. This is where you can learn. Here's some more information. And if you would like a call, it would be great. And then the final thing is a signature. I'm in two minds about signatures. Sometimes I have a very visual signature with lots of icons. Other time I'll have it very plain text and easy to read. I think I'm more in the mood at the moment of plain text, but my mood sort of changes up and down. But if you look at all of this together, this is how my open email looks. So at the top, you have the introduction. So first name, Patrick Collins, introduction and quick question. And then the subject, and then the email. So hi, first name, hope you're well. My name is Patrick and I'm the founder of Prospect Labs. I recently read about your company on LinkedIn and wanted to get in touch to introduce myself. Prospect Labs is the Baltic's leading growth hacking training company, helping startups to build scalable sales and marketing strategies. Just wanted to ask if you're looking to increase the sales within your company, or if you feel the way you're generating leads could be improved. Please see a webinar I recently ran on how to generate more leads here. Would you be available to have a call where I could learn more about your company, introduce myself in more detail? So the idea behind this email is I add value. I want to get to know you. It's all about how I learn about your business and how it helps. And there's a lot of value and a lot of trust. So that's the template that I use and the psychology behind all of that to get to that point. But if you think of the work that's gone beyond then, I've created a domain, I've created an email account, I've warmed up the email, I've scraped the emails, I've created the campaign on this tool, Lemlist, I've written the email, and then I click send. So if you want to generate business emails in the right way, there are a lot of steps you need to do to get to this point. It's not just a case of buying a database, sending it, because you get the results of the work you put in. So just to confirm, in terms of the tools to send, Snowview to scrape, and I use this tool called Lemlist that I really send. And if you think about activity in terms of the results you want to get, I would say don't ever send more than 50 emails per day. And a sort of a rule of thumb is trying to keep your LinkedIn and email activity the same. So for email, don't send more than 50 a day. LinkedIn, don't connect with more than 50 a day. And it keeps it simple. In terms of open rates, if you can get more than 40% open, you're doing pretty good. If you can get more than 10% to click, you're doing pretty good. And if you get more than 10% to reply, you do really good. So those are sort of general levels. If you get over 50% opens, then it's great. But you certainly don't want to be getting 10, 20% open rates. You're really doing things wrong. And if anybody of you on the call or listening in the future have been doing email campaigns, try and think, have you done all of these steps? Or is there a reason why the results haven't been as good as you hoped for? And then this one here, you're looking for between about 40 to 100 replies per month. So if you scrape enough emails, and enough emails, that sort of thing, these are the sort of replies that you're looking for. So if you can get to this many emails, replies per month, as in sort of 40 to 100, and you can sort of get to the same number on LinkedIn, then you're around 100 to 200 sort of interactions per month on an outbound campaign. And if you can put those two together, it's incredibly powerful to start generating outbound leads. So I think there's a lot of different sort of complexities to this. But the whole idea behind this all is having emails sent from the right domain, having the right database of emails, and always business emails and always first names, warming up the email, creating the right subject line, creating the right messages. And then if you want to, you can always have follow-up 2, follow-up 3, that sort of thing. So I think if anybody wants to ever email me in terms of get some advice, learn about this in more detail, that's my email there. So it's patrick@prospectlabs.co. And I just want to show you some final tools, and then I'm happy to answer any questions, because I know this can be quite technical, and so I'd rather share a lot of information for you to then read and try in your own time. But one thing is this tool here called Lemlist. There's some really interesting things you can do in terms of sending emails. So when you create campaigns, I think it's probably best here, to be honest. When you create email campaigns, you can do something called dynamic merge tags. So what this means is that instead of sending just hi, first name, here's some information, you can make the whole email come to life. So the best way to show you this is here. And so if you see the example here, what you can do is you can create images, but you can actually add the merge tags onto the images. So the idea behind this is you could say, hey, first name, would love to have a call, and there's a picture. And that, instead of first name, it has Patrick, James, Sarah. Likewise, you can say, here's a picture of your website, would love to have a chat and discuss your website with you, or that sort of thing. So I think Lemlist as a tool is the most powerful tool on the market for bringing cold emails alive by landing pages, via emails, via dynamic text. There's all sorts of different things that you can try and use to really bring it to life. And then finally, the integrations are very good. So if people open, if people reply, then you can get alerts to Slack, they can add to Pipedrive or HubSpot, all that sort of thing. So the idea behind all of this is to try and create a very, very bespoke target audience, personalized names and emails, and then a message that will make you make them feel like they want to reply. So I think it's quite a short session today, but what I wanted to do is share all that information, and then after this talk, I'll share these slides, I'll share the links, and then I think, like all sort of growth hacking, it's for you to start learning and testing, and then maybe get in touch with me once you've had some ideas and want some sort of approval or feedback or that sort of thing. So I hope that makes sense so far. And then if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them now if I can help.
Okay, if you want to ask questions, just type it in the chat or just unmute yourself and ask.
Yeah. And I'm happy to, as this is our final session, I'm happy to answer about email, or if anybody had anything about LinkedIn as well last week, so that's relevant to this, I can help as well.
Nicola has a question. So Nicola, please proceed.
Yeah.
Hi, Patrick. Thanks for the presentation.
No problem.
Quick question. So how do the domains actually behave when you add them to a Google Suite? So like if I add multiple domains on the same Google Suite account, so you can also add them as like an alias to a primary domain, or you can just add them as a regular domain?
So I would keep it separate. So I wouldn't say necessarily add it as an alias, because you can, but it's sort of, it depends how many people you want to have access to it. So if it's only yourself managing multiple accounts, then you can create a domain and an alias to that domain. However, if you want somebody else running campaigns for you, I think aliases can get quite confusing. So what I usually do is just say I've got prospectlabs.co and say there's a different domain, prospectlabs.io. I would keep them completely separate, but I would just have a forwarding. So anybody who goes to the website, prospectlabs.io, instantly ends up at .co, for example. But in the emailing, I just send from the .io, and then if anybody replies, it's fine. And that's basically how I do it. So I think what I like to do is keep them very separate, because at some stage you're going to realize, actually, I don't want to do any more emailing, or I had a bit of a bad campaign, or I want to give it a rest, or that sort of thing. And by being able to just switch it off or pause it, but doesn't affect your day-to-day business, that's the whole goal of it.
Understand, but just to make sure I understand it. So
yeah,
you're saying that, okay, so no alias, that's what's of course, but like, does adding it as a separate, just a regular domain within the same Google Suite, and like then being able just to keep the same inbox, but still having two different domains added to an account, does that link in any way? Or like even that should be avoided and like have complete separate?
No, I think it should be. I think the best thing to do is I'll share my screen, because it's probably easier to show you than to try and explain. So there's one of my clients, and their domain is Defendec. So maybe they do have an alias. I'm trying to figure this out. So his email is simon@smartersolutions.com, but he also has an alias, which is simon@reconize.co. So we set up reconize.co is a completely different domain, and that's why we've set the email. So when I log in, I can send from this alias, but it's a completely different domain. And then in Lemlist, I'll show you here. I think it's settings here. Email. Yes. So in the email here, it is an alias, sorry. So I send from Simon@Reconize, but it's an alias of the Gmail account, Simon@SmarterSolutions. So the domain reconize.co is completely a new domain, but I use the same Google Suite just to keep it under all one account.
Yeah.
So I hope that makes sense. Apologies, I'm fairly tired at the end of the day trying to figure this out.
That's cool.
But I think the other thing is Lemlist is very good for support. If you message them and just say, should I set this up as a new alias or as a new separate account? But I think that the main thing is a separate domain, but both in the same G Suite account should be okay.
Cool, thank you.
Yep. No problem. I think Svetlana had a question here as well. So
Okay.
what if we send from office mail on business domain using Gmail for business? Probably not. So I think, Svetlana, do you mean you don't use Gmail as a provider, you use Office instead? I think, I'll just see. Svetlana, are you online? Or I can try and answer if you're not there.
She's here. I will just unmute her.
So we'll see. But in general, just if she can't reply, a lot of these tools work both with Gmail, but also with Office in the same way. You just have to sync it up a little bit differently. In general, when you're building your accounts, though, it's usually easiest to use G Suite because all of the marketing tools integrate a lot better with G Suite. But I know some businesses prefer the whole Microsoft Office sort of build much better. So I think it still works the same way if you're sending from Outlook or Office Mail or Gmail in the same way. It's still the same thing, a separate domain, separate email, and you can still link to Lemlist and Snowvio and other tools like that. So there shouldn't be any difference if you're using Office Mail, to be honest. And then I think there's one other question here. So from Milena, when you did campaigns, did you notice a significant difference in results when emails have a picture opposed to emails that are plain text and links, for example? And thanks for the feedback. So I think this is a tricky one because if you don't use a software like Lemlist, for example, when you send an email with images, often they'll go straight to spam because they're too big, or I don't know, the centers attachments or things like that. So in general, sending as images can be tricky. The other thing is, if you send as images, a lot of the time people feel it's more of a newsletter and it's not personalized. However, there is a way around this, which I can show you is really clever. So I'll share my screen again. There we go. So I'll show you how I did this. I'll see if I've still got my campaign actually of what I launched when testing out this tool. It could be this one. No, okay, I'll quickly show you a new campaign to see how you can do this. So on Lemlist, one of the very cool things you can do is have dynamic images. So if we just say next, template email. So on here you can have, they give you sort of examples of this. So just random things like this. And the idea is that you can change this into any image you want, and then you can make this bespoke. So on this image, you could say, somebody's website should show here, or this image, you can upload an image or that sort of thing, and then save it as a template. And then what it means is that when you send somebody an email, I'll show you what I mean here. When you send somebody an email here, that picture there will show different people's websites all the time. So to me, it would show my website, to Startup Wise Guys, to Swiss EP, it would pull in their website. So I think if you're going to use images in email marketing, then have a look at how Lemlist can show you this, that instead of just sending a generic email, send something that's going to be bespoke for everybody. So I think there's one here where I might have an example, which is quite good. Oh yeah, this one here. Just see if this is the one. Oh no, sorry, it is Mortgage Genie. Here we go. So I think to answer your question, I find that you can get a really good response if you have an image that makes somebody think, wow. And so if you think about what your business does, can you include the company's brand, the company's website, the company's logo, a picture of something that's really relevant, and it works as a bespoke way, then it can work really well. If it's just a generic newsletter style image, then I don't think it works as well. And that's why I prefer plain text. So I think it's quite hard to explain, but if you go to Lemlist and if you have a look at all of the guides in terms of this one here of where we personalization. They have a really amazing blog on how you can personalize emails that people get the individual email to them. So I hope that makes sense that you can see this, but this is the only software that I've seen that does this, where every time there's a sort of a unique image that's relevant to the company, and it works really, really well. And if you have a look at their blog, they have so many ideas in terms of campaigns that got really great reviews, different guides, different tools to use, all these sorts of stuff. So I would say to start with, try plain text and just get the open rates high. So I would say plain text and open rates above 40%, you're doing well. And then make sure that on your emails you send at least 2 or 3, because people very rarely reply to the first. They open and think, it's okay, but I'm busy. The second one, okay, I need to reply. Third one, okay, leave me alone, I'll reply. What do you want? That sort of thing. So make sure you have the follow-up messages. But try plain text first, and then maybe experiment with Lemlist to have A/B tests. So one plain text and one image, and start to see what the results are like. But perfect, thank you. Okay, does anybody else have any other questions about this? Otherwise, there's a few final bits that I'll sort of introduce you to that could help you.
I have another one.
Yeah,
So
go for it.
do you have a way of actually, because Lemlist kind of tracks every click individually and open, so you kind of have the total number of clicks, but don't have like, it doesn't count the number of people from the campaign that actually click, but if that makes sense, it doesn't track the number of people, but only the number of clicks. So if a single person clicks multiple times, you will see it in a percentage, as if like the higher percentage of people actually clicked than they did.
So I'll show you. It depends how you want to report it. So for example, can you see the screen okay here?
Yeah.
So there's reporting in general, which doesn't really mean too much because I have lots of different campaigns running. So an average open rate is like having doing a running training program, and one day you'll run 1 kilometer and the other day you'll run 30, and it'll say your general pace, but both training sessions were totally different. So the general results here are not so relevant, because what does it matter if you get a really high open rate when I've only sent like 16 to somebody? So I would ignore that. But in terms of on each campaign, the stats on each campaign I think are worth looking at. In terms of clicked or open or replied, yeah, I agree that if somebody clicks 10 times, it might be that it tracks that more. But I think it's trying to base this just on the right hand side here, so you can see how many times people have done certain activities of open, clicked, emailed, that sort of thing. What you can do is link this to other softwares. So you could link this to Zapier or I don't know, a data box or something to just track all the individual activities and see what's happening. But what I like here is on opportunities here, you can set this to say every time somebody clicks, so anytime somebody replies, or whatever you class as an opportunity, should go to here. And then here's where you can keep on top of it to say, are they interested, not interested, that sort of thing. So what I usually do is create campaigns, and then in here, anybody who I class as shows any relevance, I'll make sure that I chase them up to see, have I spoken to them, have they signed up, or is there something I need to do? So it's a good way of pulling everybody out of campaigns just in the opportunity section to keep on top of things. So does that answer the question, or is there anything else I can help with?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah, good. So I think there are a lot of other tools like MailChimp for newsletters. There are, even Synovio has cold emailing, but I think Lemlist is just the one that's the most creative for a mix of the support, how to warm up the email account, and then also how to send emails and the support added on top of that. So there's quite a range of ways that that can help. I think in terms of generally, there's a lot of information I've shared between LinkedIn and email, and these 2 webinars took me 12 weeks to actually really in detail every week train a program that I've been doing. So don't feel like this is too fast or you didn't get it straight away, because that's not really the goal. The goal is to point you in the direction to say, are you questioning how you're doing things, and do you realize there's more that can be done? So for email, did you know about warming up your email or your domain, or how to scrape emails or subject lines? And same with LinkedIn, did you know how to optimize your profile, write the messages, automate campaigns, that sort of thing? The final thing, so I'm releasing a LinkedIn tool, should be live tomorrow, and this is going to be a LinkedIn automation tool, and it's going to be free till the end of the month for anybody that wants to test it, and then I'll be doing discounted prices as well after that. So if anybody wants to try it out in terms of lead generation tool, one benefit that I'm trying to push is just I'll be offering all the support. So it just means that if you want to try it out and you need help with reviewing it, checking messages, anything like that, I'll be able to. So my email is patrick@prospectlabs.co. If anybody wants to try it, please send me an email. And likewise, if you just want some feedback on your marketing campaigns, on your training salespeople, or if you want to invite me to your country and I'll come and see you in a couple of months' time when with the lockdown's over, that would be cool also. So I think please keep in touch, and I think I'm a very good point of contact to make introductions, to show you the right software, but to try and save you some time, because a lot of startup founders seem to feel like it's a success to fail. And I think it's a failure to fail, because why fail when everybody else is failing? Learn from their mistakes. So there's a way to fail small tests, but in terms of don't spend months trying email campaigns when you could just email me and say, do you know a software? Do you know a template? Do you know an introduction? Do you know a blog? That sort of thing. So try and fast track all your mistakes by leveraging other people's knowledge. And then the variables are more, does your own product fail? Because if you're trying something new, there are going to be lots of testing to do. But all the email marketing, all the LinkedIn, all the cold calling, all these things are not new. So you might as well become experts at them from external information. And my side is all about outbound automation, LinkedIn and email, and then automating systems, that sort of thing. So I think that's everything from me, unless there's anybody else I can help with just today.
Okay. If there's no more questions, I would like to thank Patrick for his time, and I would like to thank you all for coming today. We will share the video and the materials from this webinar on Thursday, so you'll receive it on your email, and hope to see you on some other occasions.
Perfect. Keep in touch, everyone. And yeah, email me or keep in touch on LinkedIn if I can help. Thanks for all your time.
Cheers, guys.
See you,
Bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.